Today, Dave and Jay will be talking about patient satisfaction. Just as we ended as Glenn ended his speech on the patient satisfaction note, we can, Dave and Jay bring a session about Feedback Innovations as the company that Dave created to provide a program to different agencies about patient satisfaction surveys and quality of pre-hospital care. And Jay, who is the operations supervisor at Pro EMS company, he has implemented that program into his operations, and they will both share the experience. And this is a very, this is an interactive session, so please ask questions or share your experiences with patient satisfaction programs.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So can we do this? I know I hate this when I'm the person sitting in the back of the room. It's much easier. Can we move forward? And I hate to do this to you if you're already seated back there, but there's a couple of reasons for this. One is it's a small group, or let's say an intimate group, an appropriately sized intimate group. And we do want to make this session a little more interactive than perhaps some of the other sessions you've been in. So at any point in time, I'd suggest, if your hand's in the air, then you can ask a question. Don't wait for one of us to catch your attention. Just do that. We want to talk about the process that we use for this. And there's also going to be two of us, Dave and I, doing the presentation, and so that'll be a little bit different. We were going to do the answering machine thing where I said one word like hello, you've reached Dave. We tried it earlier, it didn't quite work out. Our tone and tempo wasn't exactly the same. I'm a little amped up. So we're both from New England. I work for an ambulance service in just outside of Boston, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But please, if at any point in time you do have any questions, just feel free to ask them and to throw them out there. We'll hand off from time to time during the presentation, so keep your eye on one of us. Most of the time one of us will be talking and one of you aren't. So we can flip through here.
Might as well introduce myself.
Yeah, so two different companies. My name is Jay Starzynski, I work for Pro, and I'll talk a little bit more about Pro. And this is Dave Flanagan. Dave Flanagan is the founder and owner of Feedback Innovations. So we'll hit Pro in a few minutes. Feedback Innovations. Dave, you can tell me a little bit more about how it got started.
I wish that I could take sole credit for starting the company. I can't. I started it with a couple other business partners. I'm on the business side, and we have a couple of EMT veterans also in the mix who helped to start off and run the operations side. The genesis for it really was in conversations with companies like Pro to find out what they were doing to measure patient satisfaction today or yesterday as
customer service and a way to measure it. So we'll talk about why we do that, why the hospitals do that, and what is good about measuring patient satisfaction. I'll talk about what we've done at Pro. So we're the test case, right? This is Dave's product. But I'll tell you exactly how we've really implemented that. So I think that beats a lot of times me standing up with a bunch of bullet points and saying, well, here's what our peers say, or here's what a Press Ganey 2008 survey says, the top 10 reasons we did this far. I will give you the reasons that we've done it at Pro and how we've been able to implement that, and I'll let you ask me a ton of questions about what we've done with the data. We'll go through the reporting examples, we'll show you some of the reports, the process, and we'll tell you how we collect the data and how we then disperse the data out to our field personnel. Dave, next slide. So I will quote one survey, so a 2008 Press Ganey survey, and then my own anecdotal research that I did on the Google to figure out maybe what were the reasons that we measure patient satisfaction. So first, by a show of hands, who does currently measure their patient satisfaction? You do. And just how do you do it? Is it a survey monkey? Is it
certain bailouts measure with their bill?
Okay, so you send them the bill in the mail, and with that they get a paper survey. Anybody else have to do anything slightly different? Because that sounds like the norm. How do you guys do it?
We have our own patient satisfaction program. It's called the CARE program.
Oh, cool.
It's like our own proprietary design.
Soup to nuts then. So that's teams that are extracting the data, teams that are looking at data, working with customer service issues, also working with the staff as little ambassadors of customer service.
Yeah, it's a pretty robust program.
So from the CEO down to the guy applying for the job, everybody gets it.
Yeah.
That's important, right? So it's important to have the philosophy from the head down. They say the fish always rots from the head down, right? So that's not so bad. I think, go ahead.
Do a trifold, end-to-end time of service. at the end, which allows them to be able to either give you or information there, allows them to email you stuff if you want,
Okay.
or a phone number to actually call back is another way we do it.
So a trifold handed at time of service.
At the time of service, leave it at the bedside, and that same thing will get mailed to them only, and not a trifold, but an index card size type of
Okay.
thing. Follow.
Unresponsive, you just staple it to the. Or tape it in?
Well, yeah, either that or we shock them until they get alive.
There you go. Right.
We're pretty determined to get those things back, and then that's driven too by every one of those that get turned back, whether it's positive or negative, the employee gets credit for that, and there's points and awards for those based at the end of the year.
Okay. What do they get to do with the points?
What's that? What I get to do? The top winner last year with $2,500. Second place got $1,500. Third place got $750.
It's not bad.
And just out of curiosity, what are your response rates?
That I couldn't tell you. It's below my finger.
Okay.
But I know it's, if you hand it to them personally, they get pretty good with it. And if the patient's not able to sign it themselves, a lot of times you just hand the family member, hey, when you get home from the hospital, we want to know how we did, what we need to improve on. And there's 5 different questions on it and stuff. So everybody can say pretty well. There's some negative stuff too.
Right.
And that's how you try to do things better.
Dave, what's an average rate of return?
About 10%.
Standard for us.
Standard, yeah. And it varies from one, we deal with a lot of smaller municipalities. It varies from one municipality to the next for factors that we haven't completely gotten our arms around. But we consistently get high response rates from certain municipalities, and we know who they are. We consistently get low response rates from other places. They might be just a mile or two away from each other, but there seems to be that consistency. Now, for the people who are doing things in-house, you have a different program, so I want
Actually, he's Pride Care. He might not know this. Pride Care is actually using our program. They call it something different,
okay.
but they implemented it. Yeah, from it's a little bit different, but they implemented our care program.
Okay.
So it was a little.
Yeah.
It's the care point district.
Okay.
It's through program. I just don't know the stuff that they get sent. So I don't know the results of that part. Right?
Yeah.
Where are you guys from? Where are you from?
Pro Transport One.
Pro Transfer One,
Yeah.
California.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
where are you from?
Kalamazoo.
Who's it?
We get about 90%.
You got alert.
Alert, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, very good.
We get
Home
about
state.
90%. Crews get about 90% return.
90% return rate. Now, are you mailing those out or are you?
No,
At time of service.
Well, come on up here.
Oh, it's actually,
That's not bad.
no, but I mean, talk to the patient or the family or the nurse.
Do you make phone calls?
Yes.
We make phone call and then we call back every call where it says, would you like a call back from quality assurance? Every call is made to a nurse or family or anybody, and then another person calls all the people who go home from hospital or discharge
Or discharge.
to find out if they're satisfied. Did they have a good trip? Was there anything we could have done different?
And to thank them.
To thank them for using our service.
So who doesn't use patient satisfaction tool now? Okay, so there's a couple. All right, so we have an interested group of folks. We have some folks who have entire programs dedicated to doing this. We have some folks who are interested in using it just for the first time. I think what you find when we get what's to offer here is it probably fits in a little bit everywhere. You may use it to supplement what you're doing. It sounds like you have a pretty robust program going. You're getting 90% return rates. That's absolutely fabulous. That's blowing everybody out by 88% or so. So you are obviously doing something right. My hat off to you. And you had a question.
Yeah, I just watched. I wanted to raise a point. I'm not sure if anybody else is doing this either. I know on the patient end we're doing that. Some people are, but we actually do 3 different types of surveys. We do physician survey, patient survey, and facility survey. Facility would be dropped off during an actual facility visit to the nursing staff unit secretaries, so we can get their feedback from a nursing home perspective. From the physician's office, when we're dropping the patients off, we're actually doing phone calls on a daily basis to ensure, hey, how was it as far as timeliness from the time that patient was done with their actual appointment until the time we got there. Was it efficient? Did you have any problems with staff? So forth. So we're kind of trying to hit it from all 3 angles.
Okay, so everybody who is doing some type of patient satisfaction survey, and for those of you who want to initiate some type of a program, can we agree on this list, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. And this is the list that I pulled from a couple different surveys, a few research projects, and then, as I told you, my own research on Google is the reasons people were looking for this customer satisfaction or patient satisfaction data. And in every other industry, this is completely normal, right? Like everybody gathers customer satisfaction data and information, but we don't ever do it because we figure, you know what, you call 911, you got us, and we showed up. Or you go to the hospital and we brought you home because the hospital does all that because they have to, because you're contracted with us. And we all know now accountable care organizations and Medicare and Medicaid doling out money based on reoccurrence rates and stuff like that, that this is probably going to change, and people will probably start to have a choice, or maybe we'll start to be paid based on our satisfaction data. Hospitals now show their satisfaction data, right? That's part of the Medicare and Medicaid rulings, right? So that was never available before. Now people can make a choice based on that. So it's probably coming for us, right? It's probably coming. So we want to be ahead of the game. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what we found when we compare ourselves to other ambulance companies in our area, and with their customer satisfaction data, or what they were doing with it, or a little bit of a precursor of what they weren't doing with it. So to improve the quality of care, that makes sense, right? Especially for our hospital counterparts, they want to improve the quality of care. So how do you do that? You monitor people's satisfaction at the end of this. You try to create efficiencies. You try to break down bottlenecks in the ED or stuff like that. So this makes sense. Improving the quality of care to enhance the reputation, patient loyalty and retention, or to gain market share. So all of these first couple make sense for our hospital counterparts, and they really make sense for the bottom line, right? How does this help us financially? What does one new patient gain us? What do 10 new patients gain us? And what does retaining a patient over a period of time gain us over the course of their lifetime? And certainly, is there any attorneys in the room? So I would argue you could reduce malpractice claims, and all the hospitals would argue that as well. But I don't want to focus on those, because those are the ones that came up in my Google search. Those are the ones that came up in all of the studies, and those are the ones that I think I could put a tie on, and we could sit up here and we could have big charts, and we could talk for 20 and 30 minutes about how this affects us. But what I really want to talk to you about is what we've actually truly done with the data, and how we've used it at our organization, and how it's helped us. So we're going to talk about boosting employee morale, improving operations, and the competitive bid process. So before I get started, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I won't go off and stop me if I get long-winded here. I'll tell you a little bit about what we do at the place where I work. Called Pro EMS. We're 911 for the city of Cambridge. We serve 8 other communities in the metro Boston area. We provide paramedic intercept. We also provide ALS and BLS 911 transport. We do a fair share of interfacility transport work, and we do some transfer work for our partner hospitals. So we serve 2 hospitals in the city of Cambridge. It's about 80-20. So we do about 80 to 85% emergency work or street work. We do about 20% non-emergency work. We have a contract with one hospital. We have a handshake agreement with the other hospital. We have a handshake agreement with one of our biggest 911 providers, and the rest is all done by contract. So we have to run our business the way that you do as well. We have about 12 units on the street each day. That's 50 field providers. And those 50 field providers, and about 10 or so of those are overhead administration, maybe another 10 or so are EMTs, the rest are paramedics. We do about 25,000 requests for service a year. That equates to a little over 15, maybe 20,000 transports. So it's a busy spot. The reason we're able to do that is, although we cover approximately 250 square miles, the bulk of our business is in Cambridge. Cambridge is the home to MIT and Harvard University, sits right across the river from Boston. It has one of the highest population densities in the United States, so we're probably 6th highest population density. That doesn't mean anything to anybody from New Jersey, but for folks who live in the square states in the middle, that's pretty good, right? So the 250 square miles comes in the surrounding communities that we serve on the outside. So we've been in Cambridge for about 30 years. The newer communities, we picked up 8 or 9 of them in the last 5 or 6 years as we've begun to grow. So we're able to do this with a small group of people because we're in a concentrated service area. If you could pick anywhere on a map and throw a dart at it, it's a great place to do it. We have 5 trauma centers that are across the river, less than a 5 to 6 minute drive, as well as 2 community hospitals in town and then a smattering of other community hospitals. Population in Cambridge is about 100,000. Nighttime residents, it swells to about 250 or 300,000 during the day, with commuters in the biotech industry as well as the educational institutions. The other 240 some odd miles that we service, that makes up the other probably half. So it's probably half and half. Probably 250,000 in Cambridge and about 250,000 out of Cambridge. So we serve a population of about 500,000 folks or so. Cambridge is a biotech center, a couple of universities. It has light rail, it has a train, it has a subway, it has buses, we have a riverfront, we have malls, we have 1 nuclear reactor, which I don't think many other people can boast as well. So that keeps us busy during the day. But the service itself is a progressive spot. We're a single owner, we're a private organization. The gentlemen that own the company put the money back in. We invest in our folks. Our philosophy is a little bit different. As I said, we do about 80% emergency work and about 20 or 25% non-emergency stuff. We put a lot of money back into training, put a lot of money into CQI. Our folks, there's a small group of them, but they are They're trained more like a public safety entity or a fire department than a private ambulance service in many cases. So we're progressive, #1 in Massachusetts to become CAS accredited. There's a couple more. We were the 2nd or 3rd only in New England. Now there's probably 4 or 5 of us up there, but that was important to us. We're the only COAMPS accredited training institution in New England, so we run an in-house paramedic training program, as well as we offer all the CART or ancillary courses, and we're an American Heart Association training center as well. And the only COAMPS accredited training institution not only in Massachusetts, but in New England. For years, prior to the state making a change in their staffing model, we were one of the only organizations to run paramedic basic trucks. So in Massachusetts, and I know we're probably one of the few states left that require 2 paramedics to be considered an ALS resource. I think New Jersey is one. You guys have 2 medics, and there's another state or 2, but almost everybody who's running with 2 paramedics to be ALS. No, who's running PB or paramedic basic for I think most places do that, right? So in Massachusetts, we were able to move to this new staffing model. By creating an entire program, we displayed it to the state medical direction, to the state department of EMS, and they allowed us to do that. Many reasons, I won't get into those, that's an entirely another 40 minutes. But basically because of our CQI process. We also then wrote the state's new alternative staffing model in the whole state now has got PB based on our stuff. So we do 100% review of all calls, so that means if we transported you somewhere, we review that, our CQI person. If we canceled, other than to cancel prior to arrival, but if we met you on scene and we did, I don't know what you guys call them, no haul, or if you do a no service or whatever they're called, if we AMA'd somebody or we saw a patient, every one of those gets reviewed, 100%, both transports and no transports. We've had STEMI protocols for years. We've done hypothermia for the last few years. We've just instituted a sepsis protocol, and we're now looking into doing community healthcare, community paramedicine. So my point in telling you all this, we're a progressive spot. We spend a lot of money on training. We put a lot of money into our CQI, our continuous quality improvement. And we often recognize when a provider does a great job. And we often recognize when a provider clinically needs some work. And we pull those folks in, and it's never punitive. We bring them in, and we re-educate them, and then we redeploy them out to the field. And what do we get out of that? We get a better provider. So we're progressive. We think we're smart. We spend a lot of money on the employees, and the last thing that we ever thought of doing was telling everybody they did a good job and patting them on the back. Now it's New England and it's Boston, and so it's an abrasive workforce. We're a non-organized shop, right? So no union. But these are some angry folks. They all act like Bill Belichick, like he's their communications coach, right? No one wants to say anything. Everyone's kind of a sourpuss. They're a tough group of folks, and it runs the gamut. We have people who are doing their 2nd and 3rd degrees at Harvard. We have people that are on their way to med school. We have the smattering of 18 and 19-year-olds that this is their first gig for the first time out of there, doing something that's not lawn mowing or babysitting, right? So we have a huge mix of folks there, but we never really did a good job of patting them on the back and telling them what was good about what they did that day. As a matter of fact, we probably did the exact opposite. The guy that I work for, super guy, would give you the shirt off his back, brilliant as far as reimbursement strategy operations goes. He throws around compliments like manhole covers. It just doesn't happen. As a matter of fact, if he came up and said, "Hey Jeff, I think you did a really good job today," you'd probably think something was wrong with him. It's that bad. You would be worried. You'd be like, "Whoa, why is the big guy talking to me like this?" You would think something was wrong. It's just not his style. And he embraces that. He's crap. Is that spilled that? Yeah, that's it. Right, exactly. So we have one person who knows it, and some of you may know. It's just like Peter Griffith, kind of a big guy, very sarcastic, very crass, very smart. And once you get to know him and you get through the gruff exterior, you realize he's a logical, intelligent guy. It's not. But this is how this is how the place is being created. It's created. So I've been there for 12 or so years. There's a lot of other managers that have been there for 20 plus. You're a product of your environment, right? So we all do the same thing. Baby gets thrown out of the window, you save the baby. The baby's blue, you do CPR, you bring the baby to the hospital, you go get some lunch, you come back, and you gotta wash your truck. Don't leave your truck dirty, you gotta do this and that. No one says, "Hey, great job for saving the baby." Doesn't happen. You know why? Don't we pay you? Do you get a paycheck this week? We pay you for saving babies. That's what you do here. So I'm rough exterior, the kind of angry guy from New England, not really the right approach. You kind of have to become a chameleon, right? So we needed to figure out a way to talk to them and to push this across to them. And I'll talk about that in a minute. Let me tell you what we do here as far as what goes on under the hood for the surveys. Every patient gets a survey. So everyone. So there's a cost for sending a survey to every single patient, but we think with the 20,000 or so patients that we transport each year, it gives us the best return. We don't get 80 or 90% back, right? We're getting right about 10% back, so we need to send them out to our entire patient.
How do you deliver the survey?
So the survey is delivered.
Right now, it's predominantly paper. We also have an online tool that allows patients to enter their unique code, because when they get a mailing from us, they get their code.
So it goes via mail?
Yeah, it goes via mail. They can punch in their code on our website, and then they can answer the questions there as well. It goes to the
Is
same
it
desk.
separate mail, or is it sent out like with the mail, or is it just?
Separate mail.
So a couple of key principles. It's a separate mailer. It's sent directly to them, and we give them the ability then to send the data back in the way they choose. So for those of us who I don't know the I don't have stamps, right? I don't know the I don't have stamps, I don't have checks. Like I would like to. Then I have an aunt and an uncle who won't use the internet because they think people will steal their stuff. So it could go either way. You want to mail it back? By all means, you can mail it back.
The service was provided. So we do an upload every month of all the data, and then we send out a mail.
So this is only for patients, not surveying the staff or anything inside the facilities?
Correct.
No, and I can talk to you a little bit about how we do that, because I agree with what was said earlier about us going out into our environment and not only surveying all of our customers. Our customers aren't just our patients that we transport, but our fire department partners, our hospital partners and such. We do that in a little bit different fashion. We can talk offline. That's part of my job. That's what I do, a little bit of it, and we try to hit that head on. Our philosophy is all of our managers still work.